Hey traders, welcome back to the FXE YouTube channel. Yesterday we had a really nice move on EU to the upside and we have a potential reversal in play. We also have some big news today. So for today's video, I'll do a quick review of yesterday's price action and then give some trade ideas for today. But first, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. So let's start with the fundamentals. So first, for London session, we have CPI for Germany, and then during the AM session, we have employment rate as well as NFP. So today's going to be a big market mover. If we look at the yields, you can see they've continued further to the downside, but not really so much to update on the yields. Currently pulling back, but that's about it. Now moving on to DXY, starting with the daily time frame. So you can see we had a massive daily candle to the downside. We tapped the daily demand and had a massive reaction off of that. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, so what we can see on the 4-hour time frame is we never swept the highs like I was thinking we would. I was thinking we were going to manipulate the highs, go deeper into the fair value gap, and thereafter have a massive push to the downside. That didn't happen. During London session, we had the initial drive to the downside, pullback for New York session, and then continuation to the downside. On the hourly time frame, so this 4-hour fair value gap, you can see we've gone through it a few times, so I'm not sure it's so relevant anymore. But you can see that DXY is pushing quite high. Looks like it wants to go to it, and there's a reason why. If we go to the 15-minute time frame, so on the lower time frame, although the 4-hour fair value gap has been gone through a few times, there is this 15-minute fair value gap above where we have some inefficiency, and if DXY wants to go higher for that inefficiency, this will likely be the area that it reaches for. So it'll be interesting to see if the current level holds. So we have our 15-minute supply zone right here. DXY still hasn't started back up yet, but I'm guessing it's going to start up higher than where it ended. And then we'll see if it continues to push down from there or continues to push up and reach for that 15-minute fair value gap. Okay, now moving on to EU. So I'm going to start on the weekly time frame, mainly because there is some interesting things to note, as well as a correction that I have to yesterday's video. So yesterday's video, I mentioned that we went halfway through the monthly fair value gap. It's because I had a filler right here. So I had this filler right here, right? Yeah, maybe it was right here, and I was thinking it already went halfway through the monthly fair value gap, but the monthly candle hasn't closed yet. So for the time being, I'm correcting myself and bringing the monthly fair value gap to the correct level. So take a note here. We do have, if price continues to push up from here, we do still have a monthly fair value gap below, and at one point or another, it will be targeted. And what else to note on this time frame? So you can see that we have an inversion monthly fair value gap here. So EU tapped into that before we had the reaction, and it also completely filled the weekly fair value gap. Now if we go on the daily time frame, so one thing to note here that I think is quite significant, if you look at, sorry, let me get rid of the fibs. I'm going to use this instead. So if you look at how far EU came up, it came up to right around 25%. If we do the same thing on DXY, you'll notice that, oops, my bad. So you notice that DXY came down over half of the weekly range. That's a huge variance. DXY comes down half of the weekly range, while EU only comes back 25%. Kind of tells you that the euro is still really weak. Anyways, not really so much to mention on this time frame. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, so main thing to show on the 4-hour time frame is, see, we had a lot of sloppy price action, but ultimately price drove to the upside, broke 4-hour structure, and we also had a 4-hour fair value gap. It came above that as well, and then we had a massive pullback thereafter. We go on the hourly time frame. I was expecting this hourly fair value gap to hold, but you can see it's already gone through it, and it looks like it wants to push lower. If we go on the 15-minute time frame, so some interesting things here. So first of all, you can see the bearish PD arrays are being respected. An hour before Japan opened, we had a nice impulse to the upside, giving the appearance of a shift, but thereafter drove aggressively to the downside. And I just noticed that we broke the 15-minute demand. So this is kind of what I was, well, it's not what I wanted to see, but it was something I was thinking that may happen. And now that it has, it makes sense to go short now. So we don't have any PD arrays on the left, just have the 15-minute supply. So this is a good area to probably short to bring the price down. So as this 15-minute demand broke, it could be just a sweep and could reverse from here, but unless these highs go, then I'm thinking that it's probably eventually going to continue back down. It's up, actually pushing up quite nicely, so maybe it was a sweep. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing it's just mitigation and will eventually come right back down. But if this high does go, and then we can look for pullbacks to take the price up. And that's my preference, because you can see my break even is right here for yesterday's trade. And I was thinking if this low goes, it'll probably come back down to this 15-minute demand, mainly because you look on the left, there isn't really much in terms of inefficiency. There was a 15-minute fair value gap here. It's already been mitigated, and this demand has been mitigated. This demand has been mitigated. This level and this level were really the only unmitigated areas for price to reach for. So, like I said, this has already been broken. I'm guessing it's just going to do a mitigation and then continue down. And as it has already broken, my guess is now we get a pullback and then continuation to the downside, targeting the unmitigated demand right there. And from there, potentially, we may see a shift to take the price back up. But at the same time, if we do break these highs, then we can look for a pullback, see if there's any fair value gaps on the lower time frame or the demand to take the price up. Wasn't sure what Asia was going to do today. I was thinking it would probably reverse and continue to the upside, but after I see that break, now I'm thinking Asia may bring it down and London may potentially bring it back up. But let's just wait and see what happens here. So again, the low already went. If this goes for deep mitigation, it'll probably come back down deeper. If it does break these highs, then we can look for a pullback for continuation plays to the upside. So just to quickly summarize, for the time being, my bias has shifted more bullish again on EU. It's not to say that price can't come down, as I do see this 15-minute demand level as a nice area for price to come to before continuing to the upside. But we just need to wait and see what happens in the next hour, what the Asia direction gives us. And if price does come down, hopefully we do get that reversal, the shift and reversal at the lower unmitigated demand. I've already explained what I'll be looking for during Asia, but for Asia and London, see if we can get longing opportunities. That's mainly what I'll be looking for. We do have NFP during New York session, and to be honest, anything can happen. But what I can say and guess is that if the price does continue up from here, I'm guessing that this is going to be a very nice area for price to sweep, and potentially it may come as low as this lower unmitigated demand before reversing and potentially push back up. For now, not really looking for sells unless we get a second break of these lows. We'll be more just focused on looking for those longing opportunities. Anyways, that's it for today's quick update. Hopefully you guys found some value in today's video, and if you did, a like and a subscribe would be appreciated. Good luck trading today, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.
Black Swan.